you're not getting smoked for absolutely everything. That if you show up and to quote Mr. Capobianco, who runs the pre-dive along with Mr. Kilbride, if you show up and you do your job, you're going to get left alone. Show up, train, be motivated, get the task done in the appropriate timeline, and you're going to breeze right through. It's going to be awesome. And now, poof, we're in the pipeline. First stop, Combat Dive School. Combat Dive School is what Combat Dive School is. It's a 6-week course, multiple infiltration methods. You'll learn salvage diving and open circuit techniques, infiltration and closed circuit techniques. There's a bunch of surface swims. There's it's basically split up into 3 weeks is the initial dive portion. It's, your open water week, then your pool week, and then your dive week. You're going to dive down to 105 feet. You're going to do search dives. You're going to do blacked out navigation dives. You're going to do the same thing at night in open circuit. Then you transfer over to closed circuit. And you're going to do the same thing to include a full mission profile where you have to infill, go over the beach, perform a simulated mission. There's a huge graduation event. Dive school is awesome. It's also super duper hard. Good thing we have a whole pre-dive to set you up for it. Attrition rates out of dive school aren't that big, for this reason. We're doing really well at dive school. You go to the Air Force Dive School in Panama City, Florida. So down at the NDSTC, which is the Navy Dive Training and something center. I don't know.
Overly complicated acronym and name.
Exactly. Yeah. No reason. PT is still a thing. It's definitely a challenging course. It's definitely not a gentleman's course, but you're treated a little bit more like a grown up. And you're going to see this kind of as a theme throughout the pipeline. The more that you have behind you, the less that people are going to kind of screw around with you. So we hit dive. Not a lot to talk about there. We're going to do a deep dive on the dive school as soon as we do. Then you go on to your other infiltration schools. So talking Airborne, you get to spend 3 weeks with your Army bros. It's really an Air Force appreciation course down at Fort Benning, Georgia. Nothing really to speak of here. The Army has been rigging trucks and tanks to drop out of airplanes since the 1940s on static line. They're going to do the same with you. It's just your chute's smaller. So as long as gravity is still a thing, and as long as the aircraft is still opening your chute, the only thing you have to do here is really just clown on your Army bros, because the Army Josephs that attend this course, it's a great time for you to tell them that you're in the Air Force and make sure they know that you're better than them and we know it.
That's really all it comes down to. Keep your feet and knees together. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Feet and knees together. Yeah. Parachute landing fall and you're good.
And then you're going to go to SEER, which is like a vacation. It really is.
How dare you? I love SEER. SEER is great. So
it was a great time. That's what I'm saying. It was.
Yeah, SEER is really, really awesome. And this one is the first time where it's, it's not as much physically stressing as it is mentally stressing. There are some physically stressing parts of it, and we're not going to get into it because you can't talk about it. But you're going to get the highest level of SEER training the DoD has to offer by SEER specialists. That's their whole life. Every single person that works at that organization lives and breathes being a survival, evasion, resistance, and escape specialist and instructor. And they're going to teach you everything that you need to know to work in today's weird environments. SEER, I've always said, is one of my favorite schools.
Oh my goodness. They talk about handcuffs the way the PJs talk about ropes.
They really do. They love handcuffs for whatever reason. Anyway.
SEER nerds.
Yeah. You'll be with other AFSPEC war folks too. So in your little flight at SEER, you're going to be with nothing but AFSPEC war folks. So you'll be running around with your future PJ and controller bros. And it really is a good time. And as long as you go in a winter class, I won't make fun of you for being exceptionally soft.
I went in a winter class. So
yeah, because obviously you're hard.
It was easier.
It was.
I'm not one of those guys that tries to tell people when I went through, everything was harder. Since the moment I made it into the community, everything to get into my career field has only gotten more difficult. So,
well, timing is everything. Your timing is impeccable. So the other thing that we'll hit here, and where does free fall into the pipeline for y'all now?
Well, it's a logistics thing. It's either going to be before or after the apprentice course. So the majority of folks are going to be before. People are like, why is free fall such an issue? There's a few different things, but there's one really positive thing is when we went through free fall, it was very basic. We're not strapping NVGs onto us. We're not actually working up to the point where you need to be on team. It was just fall out of a plane, strap some equipment to you, pull at the right altitude, don't crash.
Yep.
But it's a lot more involved than it used to be. So while I understand that there's issues and you might spend a little bit of time on Chapman Annex just hanging out waiting for your free fall course, or things might seem a little discombobulated, there's some goodness that comes out of the course. It's just we're working through the wickets right now, and it's going to get better soon. So maybe by the time this drops, we'll have some real solutions that are cleaning this up.
Right. Yeah. And the free fall course, like you said, when I went through, it was completely individually focused, right? I never did a grouping jump. There was like a long delay. The drop zone out there is huge. There was like a long delay getting off the ramp. And then when they kind of talked about grouping and they kind of talked about stacking, but they only did it. They were just like, avoid the person, like just don't run into each other and just land. It was like a beehive above the PI. That is not the way it is anymore. They do grouping jumps. They do stacking. They want the students to fly together. They want everybody to look like they're supposed to, all the way
offsets,
up to, bottom of the container open. Like nobody's pulling rip cords anymore. Everybody's jumping rucks in the correctly mounted, front mounted, non-lowered fashion. People are jumping with NVGs. You're NVG qualified, right out the gate. So it's good. Logistically, it does suck. There's a bottleneck there. Sorry. Newsflash, everybody. You're in the military. You're going to have to hurry up and wait every once in a while. And this is one of those times that you might have to hurry up and wait. So that gets us to the apprentice course. The apprentice course has gone through some changes. Let's talk about it. Tell me about the apprentice course.
The apprentice course is awesome. So the combat controllers and the SR guys show up to Pope kind of together, but there's differences, right? So like the combat controllers got to go through their air traffic control stuff because that's their job, is to manage austere airfields, to basically create and manage austere airfields.
Wait, so you're saying that a combat controller's primary job isn't to be a JTAC and it's to manage austere airfields?
It's their primary. Yeah. I mean, JTACery is part of it, calling for fires and all that other stuff. That's one of their main jobs.
You're saying that that's a qualification and not a whole job? Wow.
I know. We're gonna rub Peaches is gonna hate us forever.
I know, it's gonna be great.
But so like my guys go in there, you're gonna knock out a few of your SR line items real quick, and then you're gonna go into your shoot move communicate phase, your line nav, all that other stuff with your combat control compadres, and then the SR specific stuff is really exciting. We took all the best stuff from the Army as far as like the base level reconnaissance surveillance things. And we basically stole all their curriculum. We put it into our course. So you're going to have some like long range shooting. It's also your intro to SWAS, your drones for everybody out there. And, you're going to do your stalking lanes and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. So the apprentice course is killing it. Like the guys coming out of there, like I was talking to one of my buddies the other day, and it's like these students that were graduating these days are so far ahead.
Right.
Of where we were. So,
yep.
I mean, you can deep dive into exactly what we're doing, but like you got to get your like soldiering basics out of the way. And then we're going to intro you to the foundational special reconnaissance capabilities.
Right.
So it's not as much as you're going to want, which is coming, but it's going to wet your beak a little bit on all the really radical things that we're getting after.
And that's exactly what we do in every single other pipeline. Pararescue, you're not doing crazy rope systems. You're not doing crazy patient care. You're not doing crazy infiltration, the apprentice course. You're getting a baseline understanding of all of the different mission sets that you can do. And that's the same thing you're doing at the SRAC, the Special Reconnaissance Apprentice course. So those are the things that you're getting done. And this is going to come up a couple different times because people hit us on it all the time. They're like, well, yeah, but tell it, like, why do you need recon? Why do you need those things? As you heard Trent just say, we took all of the things, like we took the training that the Army does. We took some of the training that the Marines do for recon. We took the pieces that will help Air Force teams, Air Force Special Tactics teams, get after Air Force specific problems. So no, we're not like Army Recon or LURS or CAV Scouts or whoever else does some sort of recon function. We're not saying that we're Marine Force Recon or a MARSOC team. We're not saying that our SR guys are on par with Army Recon dudes. That's not what we're saying at all. We're saying we took those skill sets, applied them to special warfare, saw where we could have a capability that would enhance Air Force Special Tactics teams and get after mission sets. And then we made a course to make that airman to get us there. So all of these cool things, right? The free fall, the dive, long distance shooting, close reconnaissance, far reconnaissance, to include electromagnetic warfare spectrum stuff, to include SUAS and counter SUAS stuff. Those are all things that we took and molded into a course to get after our own problem sets. Okay. The Air Force doesn't need recon. I'm going to tell you straight up. The Air Force doesn't need recon. Air Force Special Tactics teams need a recon capability in order to be successful in the future fight. So that's why we have recon. That's why there is no security forces recon teams. Okay. Because Air Force Special Operations in the next fight is going to need a recon capability. And that's what we engineered for the Special Recon Apprentice course. Any follow-ons on that one?
Yeah. I missed a little bit of what you said because of technology, but we talk about problem solving all the time. I'm not sure if you talk about this, but you can't solve a problem if you're not in the space of the problem. And so that's what we're getting after. When we talk about airspace and all those other things that we need to dominate from the ground all the way up to the sun, you need to have all the data, and you need to be in that space and have the capability to solve those problems, to own the air. So that's the way I see getting after it. And it's really hard to solve those problems if you can't get there and if you can't get out, you know?
Yeah. No, you're totally right. So that gets us through the pipeline. Congratulations. You put your beret on, and now you're back at the bottom of the totem pole. Now you're just a crappy 3-level on a team. Well, I don't know if you're crappy. You might be.
No, we go to STTS, and STTS is awesome right now.
Right.
So that's where you get way more into the preparation of the environment stuff, and some of the 3-level course will wet your beak to the foundational stuff. The 5-level course is going to wet your beak to like that secret squirrel stuff, to where we start to get really vague about stuff that we talk about. Like we say electromagnetic and all these other things, but more long range shooting. You're going to go through iterations where you do show up to work in your civilian clothes and do different things, and maybe you're not on base all the time when you're doing these things, and getting after that and understanding how your skill set fits into the real world, and not just on a base, on a training range, getting trained to do what you do.
Yeah. STTS is Special Tactics Training Squadron. For now, it's down at Hurlburt Field, Florida. And this is a little bit different. When PJs graduate their pipeline, they go directly to their teams. When Special Reconnaissance and Combat Controllers graduate, they go to Special Tactics Training Squadron and then go through their next skill level upgrade. So some of the things, and again, this is the area where everybody wants us to just like open the book and show you everything and start using acronyms and be like, well, what exactly is that? Here's what we can say. Special Reconnaissance has the ability to not only do drone stuff, but do counter drone stuff. Okay. They have the ability to protect the team from drone incursions. We know that loitering munitions and drones that want to collect on us, we know that that's a problem in the future space. You're going to start getting the tools to protect your team against SUAS in this thing, and then employ our own drones, right? Which is highly used. I can tell you from personal experience, having an SR guy that is good at using the drones that we have is highly valuable. It's insanely valuable to a special tactics teams. Some of the other things that Trent alluded to, there are some teams out there in the Army that have a human capability. I will say that we have the same capability on our Air Force special tactics teams. It is not to the level of the CIA. You're not going to be Jason Bourne, right? But you are going to have a baseline of those skills that you're going to be able to use through a number of different training things. And you're going to be able to continue those skills underneath the umbrella of what we call special activities. Special Reconnaissance Airmen are heavily invested in those special activities. Can we tell you exactly what that is? No, because they're protected. So you can continue to ask, and you can continue to hit up the comment section and say you kind of know what this is, and you know what the acronym is. Okay, fine. Go out and find it for yourself if you want to know. That you can find it on Google, but that's just not our lane. But I'll tell you what, it is highly interesting. It's really, really hard. It's a hard problem set, and SR Airmen are on the forefront of that problem set.
And it's really like, and it's not just us. And I keep saying it. Like, right. as we
PJ's
go through this period,
by the way, also do this thing. But yeah.
So everybody's going through this transition and coming out of a direct action war type of thing, and getting back to like a lot of the things that make us unique, and operating in the environments that we're going to be operating in, and getting used to it, and getting soft back to soft, instead of, like, I think we went through the grinder for like 20 years. It's super exciting. So like, if you're like, oh man, like why is SR doing this and no one else is? Like, everybody's doing this stuff. Everybody has to be in place to do their job, to solve the problems that they're trained for. So everybody has like their specialties, but there's a lot of, like we've talked about how many times, like there's a lot of crossover between the AFSCs. Like you're in the team room with these guys, you're training with everybody,
right?
Like you're going to pick up some additional skill sets. Obviously I'm not trying to drop bombs danger close or anything else like that, but like, you hang out with enough controllers and JTACs and spend enough time on airfields, and you spend enough time with your PJ bros, like everything kind of like comes together. And if you have a team of guys that need to be in a certain place to do certain things, like that type of training that you need, not only to get there and to get out, but to be safe while you're there,
Right.
Everybody has to have that kind of training to do it. So
yeah, that's facts. And then my favorite question, which we're going to hit up here in a second, is like, what's the day-to-day like? I'll tell you, no matter what day it is in special tactics, and I know, like, just get your heart rate down. No matter what day it is in special tactics, you're going to need coffee to start that day. So head over to trenchcoffeeco.com and check out their amazing brands or their amazing blends of coffee. They're fantastic. They do an awesome stuff. So it's run by other special operator friends of ours over at trenchcoffeeco.com. Our code over there is at one's ready. So use that code at checkout. It's going to get you a sweet discount. I prefer the Cowboy blend. That stuff is fantastic because it's got enough caffeine in it to kill a horse, which is where my caffeine tolerance is these days. So they're awesome. There's also a function you can go over. If you just go over again to trenchcoffeeco.com, you can actually send a bag downrange. So you can, no kidding, buy a bag for it's called Trench to Troops. And you can actually buy a bag. It's only $10 right now. And you can throw a bag out. You get a bag and then somebody downrange gets a bag. I have been lucky enough on my last deployment. Trench hooked it up the entire time I was there. I did not go a single day in that team room without some coffee from trenchcoffeeco.com. So shout out to those dudes. They're awesome dudes, out of Vegas proper. And those guys are amazing. So go check them out for all your coffee needs. But Trent, what's a battle rhythm like for an SR guy once you get on team?
Like when we talk about day to day, I always just want to go back to to the holistic thing. Like your day is what you make it.
Yep.
There are things that you have to do. And then there are things that, opportunities that are there that you need to be seizing, like whether you're looking to get into the community or you're in the community, like that's what it is. So like you got to, set your routines for certain things that, knock out what you can, your workouts, if you're home station, and then seize all those opportunities for training or to get after the next problem set. And that's all it is. It's always being focused on the next problem set and moving towards solutions, whether you're in the dev pool or whether you're on team. So yep. I know that sounds super vague to everybody, like, oh, but what is it like? Like, this is not a community where someone is going to hand you a problem with all of the data that needs to be solved.
Right.
Like, as an individual, it's a very individualistic community. I think that's why it's such a hard question for me to answer, is that someone's going to be like, hey, like, I think this is a problem. Like, do you know, like, how are we going to get after this? And then you and your buddies, or you by yourself, you all get together and you start figuring these things out. You figure out what you need to know and then how to get after these solutions. So, I mean, that's why you're listening to this podcast right now. If you're out there and you're thinking about getting into dev, is you're gathering data to start solving the problems that you see in your life to get in the community. Like, once you get on team, it's the same thing. It's just having that mindset to get after problems and to have the skill sets and to build the skill sets to solve those problems for yourself and for your teammates. Like, that's what every day is. And then get out there and perform.
And I'll lay it out as cleanly as I possibly can, right? So coming out of the pipeline, you're going to be a 5 level. You're only going to one of the 2 series units. So right now, SR is not in ACC. SR is only in AFSOC. So you're going to go to the 2-1, the 2-2, the 2-3, or the 2-6. Okay. So there you go. You're not going to go overseas. Maybe if you're like a cross trainee, or if some wacky thing happens and you can go over to one of the overseas SCSs, okay, fine. But this is the 99% is you're going to go to one of the 2 series units. Yeah. You're going to show up. You're going to work out every day under the watchful eye of your human performance optimization staff. And you're going to go through your training for whatever your team is getting ready to do. Okay. The day-to-day is going to be working on a mix of core skills and full mission profiles and advanced employment capabilities. It just depends on where you are in the cycle. How long can you expect to spend at your unit before you start that ramp up to your first deployment?
I mean, it depends on where they are in the cycle, right. and what's going on in the world. Like, I know I gave like the big picture answer, like, oh, mindset, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, hey man, like, you go to the 2 series units, like, what are you doing? Like, you would know better than I do, but like, we have guys that show up and it's like, hey, jump into this pre-deployment training.
You got 6 months. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you show up and the team's gone. So it's 2 ends of the spectrum, right? Like, we have a 20-month training cycle that is not, and it's 24 months now. But there's a 24-month training cycle. So we just changed it. You're going to prepare individually and then as a team and then work with joint partners. And then you're going to go downrange. Wherever it is that you graduate, we try to time these up, and we try to, like, there is some method to this madness. We don't just shotgun blast the SR people across. We look at, like, where are the teams deployed? Where could these students, or where, now 5-level airmen, where can these 5 levels be best utilized? Where are these units in their training cycle? It doesn't make any sense to send 3 or 4 SR guys to the 2-2 if everybody's deployed. Yeah. Right. So the people that are making these decisions understand that intimately. And then they go, oh, okay, cool. Maybe we should send them to the 2-3 because they have enough time. So you're going to be able to immediately jump into your team's training cycle. You're going to work on your core skills first, right? Shoot, move, communicate are the basic food groups of every single special operator. When you hit your unit, we add that fourth one, and shout out to Colonel Matt Allen. Shoot, move, communicate, lead. Those are the 4 things that every single Air Force special operator does: is shoot, move, communicate, lead. And then we start adding in our specific skill sets. And for SR, those specific skill sets are all housed inside of those recon skills, right? Your SUAS, your counter SUAS, that long distance shooting, that, oceanographic. I don't know what that word was. What the water, you look at water and figure out how to do stuff. So you're taking information from the environment and giving it to your team in order for them to have success, help in mission planning. And then you're working all the way through those skills and integrating into your team. So let's say, Trent, there's a mission that comes up and you're on an ST team and it's a recovery mission. What does an SR guy do on that mission?
Well, it's funny you would ask, because you want the data for where you're going, right? Like, so say like you're going on a recovery mission, but like it depends on the environment and the terrain and everything else of where we're going. Like if you drop like an STT, when you're offset by like, 10 kilometers or whatever it is, and you can throw up a SWAS and see where you're going. And also if you can detect things that could or could not be threats in the environment that you're in, and keep your team safe, and then provide like best routes and all this other stuff, and inform your team leader on courses of action, like that's what you're going to be doing. You can also have that reach out capability to keep your team safe while they're heads down doing whatever else they need to do. Like it's not like that PJ doesn't have the capability to reach out and touch someone with a rifle, but like that's not his job. Like if there's a medical situation, like ropes and all this other stuff, nerd stuff, or if someone finds some pomade out in the woods, like the SR guy is going to have to be looking somewhere else and doing his job, thinking about the stuff that other people don't have the time to think about.
What a great day. I wish I was on some sort of recovery mission and just came across some Outer Eggs pomade. Do you know how happy I would? That's going right into the old cargo pocket, not maybe a dump pouch. And that's exciting. And people get wrapped around the axle all the time. They're like, well, what if you don't need an SR guy? What are you talking about? I always need another gun. I always need I'm taking my whole team every single time that I've ever done a mission. Okay. And let's say, for the sake of me not getting flamed on the internet, let's say I had one mission in my entire career. And that one mission, when I do my mission planning, I'm like, how many people can I bring? That's always what I'm asking. I'm like, can I bring the whole team for this? They're like, do you need the whole team? I'm like, if you want it done in 10 minutes, yeah. Could I do it with 2 dudes? Sure, I suppose, but it's going to take 6 hours. How about I bring 12 dudes that I trust, that I've been training with for 24 months, and we come out? They're like, well, and in some weird scenario where somebody's like, well, you don't even need recon. This is pretty cut and dry. Well, I need another rifle. I need a guy that I know went through the same training that I did. I need a guy next to me that I know that if the shit hits the fan, I know exactly what he's going to do because he lives and breathes in the team room that I breathe in. So, saying, well, we're going to do an airfield survey. Well, you don't necessarily need PJs for that. Well, okay. Unless something wacky happens and somebody has a life-threatening injury, and then you're going to be like, oh, I guess we did need him. But even if that didn't happen, you'd still want that extra rifle on the ground. You still want that extra operator there.
Yeah, we are break glass in case of emergency type folks. Like that's what we exist for. So like to think that you're going to be moving into an environment where you know everything and it's going to go cleanly the whole way. Like you're telling me like once everybody starts leaving that plane to get down on that airfield or to get down on that rescue mission, that everything's going to go exactly the way that we planned it out. That's insane. That's
insane. Every plan is only as good as the first contact. Everybody, Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And these things are true. And it might not necessarily be like a gunfight. It might not necessarily be a life-threatening injury. You might get on the ground and you might look around and go, no, none of this is right. There was something wrong in planning. We got fed some bad information. We didn't do it right. Like you might need those exquisite skills that an SR guy has in order to make that mission happen. Let's talk about them. What's up?
Sometimes the helicopter drops you at the wrong location.
No,
how do you solve that?
Leader. That's team leader number 1, baby. You know exactly where you are geolocated to a 10-digit coordinate, and you know where you're going. Sorry, that's helicopter 101.
I'm just saying, like in the past 20 years, like these are things that have happened. Like guys have like come out the back of a helicopter on an air landing and start running towards a building, and there's been Air Force guys that are being like, hey, that's not the building that we're supposed to be going towards.
That's a bad building. No. bad building. All right. So let's talk about some of those additional skills that you're going to get throughout your career. So, we've talked about everything from the day to day through your deployment. Let's talk about some of those advanced skills. You're going to be able to go to sniper school. You're going to go and have that long range engagement courses. Because it's in your stuff. What other courses can you go to? Can you be a jump master as a special reconnaissance airman?
Oh, Aaron, are you asking this? Yes. I'm sorry.
I'm not asking you.
I know. It's for all of our favorite people out there in internet land. Yeah. I mean, just like, I don't know how many times I can, like, jump master, tandem jumping, all your dive quals, is it called a dive master? Because
dive soup.
Is that we don't call it a dive master because of the watch? Is that what killed it?
No, it is. Yeah. The oyster dive master. No, dive supervisor is the qualification and position.
But all your fast roping, rappelling, all these other things, any of the quals that are out there that you can get, like, airfield survey qualifications, there's a million quals that you can get out there as long as you have the time and a decent reason to get after these things. We always need more jump masters. We always need, more people to lead every iteration of training. So you're going to get out there and you're going to get it. Additional reconnaissance courses, right? And MSO courses and all those other things.
And here's where subject matter enthusiast turns into subject matter expert, right? So now we're able to take those skills that we had that we really care about and we really worked hard to develop. And now we're going to have those skills rounded out. And if you fall in love with long distance shooting and you want to be the long distance shooting expert on your team, guess what? We have a space for you. If you fall in love with jumping and you love free fall and you love tandem and you're the best tandem delivery master on the face of the planet, great. You can be an SR guy and do that. The other thing that we're going to expect you to do is lead. So there is and people kind of gloss over this because we don't talk about it a whole lot, but in special tactics, you can have an SR guy that is a troop chief or a flight chief. You can have an SR guy that leads its own element. So we kind of gloss over it and people talk about SR and they're like, well, yeah, it's this really cool, like multi-tool sort of thing where the team leader can reach back and go, oh, get me the SR guy. Newsflash, everybody. You could be leading one of these special tactics teams.
Well, that's like a lot. If you read the description of like your sniper courses, that's a team leader course.
It is.
That's not, it's more about, it's not just the glassing and the shooting. It's understanding how to employ your force. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we're getting after. That's why it's a 7-level requirement. Like, I want you to get the glass time. I want you to get the shooting time, but I also want you to understand, how to lead people, how to employ people correctly, and how to get the job done and get your people back home.
Right.
So it's very important.
Let me clarify something. Not any idiot can pass a sniper course. It's a very hard course. That's not what I was about to say. Any idiot can do their primary skills and be good. It takes a real master and a real leader to be able to see the capability that they have and then place it on the team where it gets the best battlefield effects. And you can do that as an SR airman all the way through your career, right? We're getting all these cool skills and we're layering them on top and we're doing all these things. It's really to when you get into those leadership positions, you're intimately aware of, okay, you know what? This mission calls for precision fires. I know where to put the best person to have those precision fires lay. Okay, I might need an overwatch position. I know for a fact that this is the best place for a shooting team to go into this overwatch position. And you're going to be given those opportunities to grow and put all those tools in your toolbox till eventually you're the team leader. You're not going to be the one on the gun your entire career, right? Now I want to talk about, Trent, how long can you expect to be really on the teams as an SR airman before you're moving on and doing those higher level things?
Can I touch on the planning and leadership thing a little bit?
Absolutely not. This is a podcast where we don't explore ideas.
I think one of the really cool things, I ignored that. One of the really cool things about our community is because like there's problems with us being siloed a little bit, right? And all of us wearing different color berets.
Right.
But when you are like a team sergeant and you're planning something and you have a combat controller that's been to 2 or 3 different STSs and been on a bunch of deployments, you have a PJ that's maybe even been an ACC, RQS, and then been an AFSOC side, and maybe even have a TAC-P in the room, and you have some SR guys. Like the amount of knowledge that goes into that mission planning process or any problem solving process that you have, like the different perspectives. I think one of the things that makes our community so successful is those very precise perspectives that go into everything, and the leadership's ability to like open up the door and be open to everybody's input, because of the way that we operate. So I'm not saying that other soft teams are not that way, but it's a little, they're structured differently, and they're all like, I'm a SEAL, you're a SEAL. It's like, no, like I'm an SR guy, you're a PJ. Like we're bros. Right. But like if my PJ comes in and is like, hey, during this phase of the operation, like these are things that you need to consider. Yeah. Like I'm listening to that dude. And I think it brings a lot of goodness to having those like very technical, very specific capabilities across the board, and the way that we look at things. I just think it's pretty cool.
Well, and a great example of that, and I saw this firsthand. One of my SR guys, we were on a full mission profile, and there was a patient that was at the bottom of a hill. And us as PJs, we're like, all right, tight, time to tie this rope system, time to figure out how to access the patient or draw him up. SR guy's like, hey, give me a second. Launched a drone, went down, looked at the patient, looked around, was like, don't need to. There's actually a little path that we can walk down right here. We could package them up, and there's a path where we can walk out, and you don't even have to hang anybody off a rope. And I was like, not only did he make it infinitely faster, it took him about 2 minutes to get that drone up, not joking, 2 minutes to get the drone up, visualize the patient, tell me what was wrong with the patient, no kidding, and then tell me that we could access the patient in a different manner. That's how you access. And by the way, my controller is working air exfil all at the same time, the entire time. And then everybody else that doesn't have work, you know what they were doing? Providing security, getting bags together, making sure that we're ready for the movement, so that when I said, hey, it's time to move, everybody was like, yeah, roger that. We're ahead of you. We were just waiting on you to tell us to go. So, man, that feels like a good place to end it.
Yeah.
It just feels
all
good.
Comes together.
It all comes together. And that's how we wanted to talk about Special Reconnaissance, because we were constantly getting questions about it. Hopefully it answered some of your questions. More importantly, I hope it raised some more questions. So leave them in the comment section down below. We'll make sure to chock this thing full of all of the cards and previous episodes that we've done, so you have a holistic look at every single thing that you could possibly need to know about becoming a special warfare airman, specifically for Special Reconnaissance. But I want to end with gratitude as always.